Good evening, everyone. The mayor apologizes. He's upstairs finishing up a meeting, so I would like to call this council presentation to order. It is my pleasure to present some amazing local artists in helping us to celebrate Black History Month. So if I can please have our amazing artists and any works that you brought join me up here. I would love for you to talk a little bit about your process and what inspired you. Si quieren subir. So, I know that we just had a artist in the spotlight last month, but it just didn't coincide so well with our meetings. So, we just finished our last artist in the spotlight, and this one, our gallery, will be tomorrow night. So, Thursday, February 22nd, at the Seminole Theater, 6 p.m. We always have delicious hors d'oeuvres sponsored by the Friends of the Seminole Theater, and always lots of beautiful artwork to be admired and hopefully purchased. Tomorrow, we also are partnering with South Dade Connections. They are hosting their Black Business Networking event alongside us. So please stop by. It will be a very, very nice evening. So let's hear it for these amazing artists up here. Since the gallery is tomorrow, most of them have hung their work, but here you can see one amazing sample of the gorgeous pieces that will be there. So if I could have you all introduce yourself, say a little something.
Hi, good evening. My name is Wanda Montaz. I'm from Dominican Republic, and I've been here before. It's my pleasure to be here and to tell you the Black Month history. It reminds me the mix of my race, of my Dominican Republic people, of my people. It's part of my history. It's part of what we are, okay? And that's our blood too. And I'm very happy to support as an artist with a piece of art. And so I'm going to pass the table here to Marcela.
Hola, buenas tardes. Soy Marcel Latour, de República Dominicana. Me dedico al arte, incluyendo lo que son la escultura, la pintura, el reciclaje, el arte objeto y la artesanía. Estoy muy encantada de poder participar en este evento de Black History Month y deseo compartir, intercambiar culturalmente mi trabajo con ustedes. Gracias. No, yo soy un poquito tímida.
Y yo también, no te preocupes. So she is saying that her name is Marcel Latour. She's from the Dominican Republic. She likes working with sculpture, and obviously she's amazing at acrylics. So she is excited to share her interpretation of Black History Month and be able to express the culture and the other beautiful parts that she finds with you all.
Good afternoon. My name is Claudia Macela, and I'm very happy and honored to have been invited to this exhibit. I'm a nature photographer and fine art artist. This time I'm presenting a piece of mixed media. I couldn't bring it because it's already at the Seminole Theater. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joseph Fisher. I'm a teacher, an art teacher actually at Keysgate Charter High School. I teach AP art, printmaking, and middle school art. When I found out about this show, I was just actually scrolling through a newsletter, and it popped up. And I have a portrait of Purvis Young that I painted for myself. It's actually more of a personal piece, just because his story, his inspiration of himself becoming an artist, going through some controversy, just going through some hard times, and he found art as being his outlet. And I've always thought that as the perfect way of any sort of therapy or any sort of anything is just creating. And I came to Miami 20 plus years ago as a visit, I walked through the Bass and I walked through the Miami Museum downtown, and I saw some of his artwork, and it just became something that was an inspiration. So I'm a mixed media artist as well. I predominantly do painting, so it's a painting / oil pastel mix on wood. So it's a really great picture. I found an archive photo that I used, and that's how I kind of came about having that as my portrait. I also teach right now, since we're teaching Black History Month at school, telling about the importance of all other cultures throughout the arts, and when one movement has to start another movement, has to spark another movement. And when you have those kind of movements, you end up getting something, which we currently have right now, some amazing artwork that we have throughout all of the museums, especially here at Miami and in Homestead as well. I've seen some really amazing art as well. So I just want to say thank you for having me be part of this.
All right, everyone. So you see a sample of the amazing stuff that will be out there tomorrow, 6 o'clock, Seminole Theater. Come support all these amazing local artists, and thank you all so much for being a part of it.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Today is, what is today? Today's Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Board Member Avila? Here. Board Member Davis?
Here.
Board Member Roth? Here. Board Member Bailey? Here. Board Member Cannibal? Vice Chairman Fletcher?
Here.
Chairman Lawson?
Here. Ms. Driver, are there any deletions or deferrals?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. So we have before us the minutes of February 5th. Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Board Member Ross, seconded by the Vice Chair. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Next item, tab 2 is car number 4149, the KROME Marketplace proposals. Ms. Driver?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On January 16th, 2024, Society 8 Hospitality Group and Vita Estilo Hospitality Group each presented concepts for KROME Marketplace, also known as the Old Edison Building, to the CRA Board. After viewing each presentation, the Board directed staff to lead discussions between the two proposals in an effort to determine if or how a combination of both proposals might be achieved. In a letter dated February 2nd, 2024, VE Group stated that they regrettably would not move forward with their proposal. The letter further expressed that VE was genuinely excited about the idea of introducing our restaurant concepts to Homestead. Our current business strategy has taken a significant turn. This transformation has led us to reprioritize our efforts and necessitated a shift in our direction. The remaining proposer is Society 8, and they have proposed to utilize all three bays, 204, 220, and 230, to build a food hall concept and dining experience with entertainment, a brewery, bar, and live entertainment. Additional terms include the following. The rent will be $1 per year during the build-out. Society 8 will receive a facility management fee of 6% of gross sales. Society 8 shall pay rent to the CRA less the management fee in 12 monthly installments beginning the first month after the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Society 8 shall receive 10% of kiosk rents for collecting rent on behalf of the CRA. And the CRA shall be responsible for the exterior building maintenance and landscaping and shall contribute no more than $1.5 million for tenant improvements. A complete pro forma and rent roll, Exhibit 4, as well as a scope and timeline, Exhibit 5, are attached to the agenda item. Staff is requesting direction from the CRA Board. If it is the preference of the Board to move forward with the proposed project from Society 8, staff will come back to the Board with a proposed negotiated agreement. And Stephen with Society 8 is here tonight if you have any questions and like for him to come to the mic.
Thank you, Ms. Driver. I'll open it up to the board for any questions or comments on this, on the item. Any additional comments? Okay. I talked about $1.5 million in tenant improvements on the city's dime. That's just to clarify, that's in addition to the roof. And I also noted on final review of this after we met today, it also calls for parking lot improvements on the separate parcel at our expense. Do we have a number on that?
We're waiting for the proposal for the parking lot, so we don't have a final number on that. And we're also expecting, probably within the next 2 weeks, the final numbers from Garland for the roof.
Any idea what that might be?
A guesstimation would be about $500,000. And we have $270,000 left from the loan proceeds that are targeted to cover the roof.
Okay. All right. Questions, comments? Councilman Davis? Or Board Member Davis?
Although I think this is a great project, I would feel much better if we had a complete accounting. I didn't realize money was going to go to the parking lot for, additional monies.
Can't hear you.
Additional monies would be going to the parking lot, perhaps. Those kind of things. Perhaps we could have that complete listing of where all the money is going to go, including the roof and, and these 1.5s and the parking lot, where all that money is going to go. I think that might be a wise way to move forward, perhaps.
Right. And again, just to interject really quickly, tonight is, I shouldn't say, not to diminish it, our authorization to go off and do negotiations. And those are numbers that can be prepared when it comes back to us for, a more detailed review of the actual agreement and those dollar amounts. I want to recall that when we had the presentation by both Society 8 and the V&E group, we're here tonight because at some point we gave them an opportunity to go try to work out a situation where Society 8 would take a portion of the building and V&E would take a portion of the building, and then in the interim, V&E decided to withdraw from this project. My concern is, and was then, that we're putting all of our eggs in one basket with this building. So my inquiry would be whether or not there's any thought among council or whether or not it would chill this deal if we reserved and withheld the northern bay to be advertised or be re-advertised or available for a different concept rather than limiting that 3/4 of a block to just the food hall with a brewery concept. We've all had ideas, fantasies, dreams of certain restaurants and amenities coming downtown over the years, and I've reminded Mr. Good, and he's passed it along to Business Flair, of some of the potential other users that would be, I think, a nice addition to downtown, and Business Flair is off and running with making those contacts on our behalf. And I understand there are other privately owned buildings, but again, with a city-owned building, we can be more creative with the incentives that we can utilize to bring something really unique to that space. So I guess my ask is are we willing, and is there the availability to withhold in abeyance that northern bay for a potential other project?
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
How are we doing? Nice to see everyone. We could rework the plan. It will change the business model slightly in terms of what we could fit in there.
Right.
You can't put 10 pounds of potatoes in a 7-pound bag, but there's definitely a way to work it and present what would actually be lost in doing that. It might be a couple less kiosks or some other activation that we were doing in
Right.
there. For example, when I was here, I spoke about karaoke rooms and the brewery, and that would have to be reworked. It's possible. It's definitely possible.
You know, and I appreciate that, and you know, and again, when we were here last time, you know, everybody agreed to entertain that possibility, and I'm assuming that your very preliminary pro formas here are based upon the entire building. And again, not to belabor the point, I'm not comfortable putting all of our eggs in one basket. That's, you know, no disrespect to, you know, what you've done and what you believe you can do here. I'm kind of looking for, you know, some fail-safe and some variety there.
Right. As long as we're on the same page as I can't deliver everything that was in that package.
Understood.
So we'd have to analyze it. Obviously, I'm going to try to deliver the things that make the most money, which would be best for everyone while keeping it interesting. So I think you could still get the flavor that way, and it is versatile enough where if the success is there and the bay is empty and you're like, we're doing nothing, we're not liking, what could you do?
Sure.
We could relook at encompassing another concept into that.
Very good.
So.
Okay. I know, you know, the package includes renderings as kind of, you know, something that we came up, a generic thing, which is not a lot more than just slapping a new coat of paint on the building. No real deep facade work in that regard. So, and I'm saying that, and I want to ask Mr. Good, do we have any reasonable timeline as when we might be able to begin taking a look at the rework of the sidewalks, the lighting, and the streetscape on KROME Avenue that will impact this?
Yes, I received actually earlier this week a preliminary draft of the flavors, so to speak, of the different furnishings from our design consultants. We're coordinating with them to see if they would be ready to present at the March Cow or at a standalone workshop with you all in order to get direction on final selections for what style you want to go with as far as all of those furnishings and finishes.
And I appreciate that, and those aesthetics are important to me, but, you know, it's probably been a couple of years ago now when you and I and the manager and Mr. Brea walked the streets a couple times. You know, we looked at, well, maybe we can remove this parking place and relocate it somewhere else. Thinking in those terms, it would create that depth for outdoor dining or entertainment, at least at this location. So, you know, look, I guess it'll take another month to bring back, you know, a fully vetted management development agreement for our consideration. And maybe before we do that, we can have that in front of us and begin to think through and maybe make some facade tweaks and you know, just talk about even where entrances might be and the look of the building.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we can do, and we'll get that on the calendar.
Yeah, even the textures and the materials for the sidewalks.
Yep.
So, are we all okay? I guess we need some input here as some direction to go forward, at least at this point, on retaining that northern bay. Yeah. Board Member Avila?
Thank you, Mayor. So you hit the nail on the head. All the questions and the things that you brought up are some of the concerns and questions I had for staff in my conversations earlier today. While I'm very excited to see your concept come to life in that building on KROME Avenue, I was a little disappointed that we weren't getting kind of two for the price of one. And I also was curious to know what recommendations you would be able to make to making the entrance and the overall look of that building more inviting, more exciting, because although the renderings we have are nice and modern and sleek, it's not necessarily something that that says to me, come eat in my restaurant. So I appreciate you being amenable to allowing us to see what else we can bring to the table for that northern parcel. It may very well be a great complement to what you'll be bringing there as well, and it'll just be a win-win. So thanks for letting us explore that and keeping you on the team.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes. Board Member Bailey?
Thank you. I really like that idea too. I made it clear at the last meeting that I'm more of a fan of this food hall concept. I know there were some concerns about it being something of a fad, but I'm sure you've all done a little more research and know that it's not what you would originally think. As far as our investment, it's also nice to know that all of these things will stay in the building. So I would just like you to continue considering the entertainment portion of it, because I think that, of course, they're coming for the food, but there is a need for the entertainment aspect as well. So however we can fit a few fun, I mentioned the pool tables last time. I think the karaoke would be a big hit, but something that would be a little interchangeable depending on the theme or time of year. That's definitely something that we can't lose. I'm in support of holding on to that northern bay. I really do think that we're going to see this take off, and then you can figure out what to do with that part of it as well. But it's obviously a great peace of mind to know that we've got some other options as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Yes, so yeah, just to state, I'm a little disappointed that the other vendor dropped out. I was looking forward to having a couple different options there, but I don't want to handcuff this individual either. Maybe they can provide us a proposal for the 2 bays and then have the third proposal that has everything incorporated with it. That way, we may love what he has to offer us with the whole building at the same time. So maybe you can do like a dual pathway thought process when you're coming up with your design.
That wouldn't be difficult at all.
That's all. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Board Member Cannonball, anything to add to the conversation? Davis? All right. So I guess you've got the consensus to pull out the bay. So we need now a motion to authorize the attorneys to begin negotiating the fully detailed agreement. Yes,
And
Mr.
so
Good.
if I could first clarify, is this motion going to include the Vice Mayor's point of an option for the third bay to be exercised at some timeline in the future, or not?
Well, I really think, I like the suggestion. I think it's really at his option and expense as to whether or not he wants to do that now. We're telling him, bring us a design for 2/3 of the property. I mean, for an academic exercise, it would be nice to see. I know that's a cost burden and expense for you. So, that's your choice.
It's not a problem.
Okay.
It's really not.
Very good. All right, moved by Board Member Roth, seconded by Board Member Cannonball. Any public comment? All in favor? Any opposed? All right.
I'm hungry.
I was saying a little historical factoid. I'm told that back in the old days when the council meetings were held at what we now call Town Hall, that they would all walk across the street, and the corner was a drugstore, a full drugstore with an old-fashioned lunch counter and soda fountain. And council and staff would go over there after meetings and have coffee and dessert. So when somebody said pool tables, I'm thinking that would be a great way to work off stress and aggravation after a council meeting late at night. Hey, go shoot pool rather than go home and stand in front of the refrigerator and see what's
Exactly.
that's there. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. It's good.
So, all right, we're good. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anything further for the CRA agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved, seconded, all in favor? And we will convene the council meeting in just a moment. So the council meeting's noticed for 6 o'clock. We'll begin then. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Homestead City Council regular meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, February 21st, 2024, and it is 6 p.m. this evening, we'll have the invocation by Pastor Gabriel Demosthenes, President of the Homestead Haitian Pastors Association, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with Councilwoman Bailey and the Homestead Police Explorers. Would you please rise? Pastor? Welcome and thank you.
O Creator of all, I come before you with gratitude to pray for the council meeting tonight. Give the council members wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on the items before them. May all decisions be just in your eyes for the homestead resident benefits and your honor. You are always present and will never abandon us. Your grace has kept us safe up to this point, and your grace will guide us home, Lord. We are grateful for creating each individual in this room, every person we encounter, every resident of the city, and every community in your likeness with dignity and boundless value. We are grateful for the responsibility you have entrusted to each of us to care for your creation and to show love to others as we do to ourselves. Thank you, God, for our mayor, city manager, city staff, and city council members tonight. I'm grateful for the service they have chosen to do on behalf of all of us. We gathered in this room tonight as intrigued individuals bearing burdens, joy, and hope with faith that only you, O God, can unite us in your love and peace. Assist us, Lord, in deepening our trust in you above our worries, hurts, and achievements. May we find solace in your eternal support tonight. We pray that the decision made by the City Council tonight will reflect your glory. We hope to see the interconnectedness of our lives and the need to listen and respond to the most vulnerable among us for the greater good. We pray for the manifestation of your kingdom and Homestead, empowered through your work with each of your servants. May truth be unveiled, light shine brighter, and the voices of the most voiceless be heard clearly. Protect their cause, O God, via this ruling body tonight. Help your servants now in position of authority to seek wisdom, power, and courage to make fair and suitable choices for all Homestead inhabitants. Let us prioritize the interests of others before our own and demonstrate benevolence for the collective welfare. Let us strive to be good neighbors by recognizing the similarities we share in each moment. We express gratitude to the Council, Mayor, municipal personnel, first responders, medical staff, and all individuals contributing to the excellence of our community, which we proudly call home. Thank you, Lord. May we find freedom from our anxieties through the perfect love of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order all! Left, face! Forward, all!
Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Good, are there any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Well, now, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Long? Here. Councilman Davis?
Here.
Councilwoman Avila? Here. Councilwoman Bailey? Here. Councilman Cannavale? Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Here.
Mayor Lawson?
Here. All right. I'll now open the floor for public comments. I will begin with those who have registered in advance. I'd ask you to give us your name and address for the record when you come to the podium and limit your comments to 3 minutes. First up, the pre-registrant is Claudia Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez, are you here? Are you with us? Claudia Gonzalez. Okay. Claudia Gonzalez from the Farm Workers Association. Okay. Is there anyone else in the chambers wishing to make a general public comment this evening? Is there anyone online? Sir, please come on down. Good evening.
Good evening. Harold Ford, 22225 Southwest 112 Place, Miami, Florida, 33170. I'm here to again express basically my disdain for what transpired last week in this chamber with the termination of the city manager. The reason why is, as we study this form of government, there's basically no checks and balances outside of the voters. So if he says no to something that the mayor wants done, then the mayor can do what he has to do to have him either voted out or removed from his particular space or his particular position, even if he has not violated the terms of his contract, which we know that he's a contract employee. And even with the comments made by the newly appointed or voted on city manager, and the comments he directed towards the outgoing city manager, I felt were inappropriate, unprofessional, and I hope they don't serve as a harbinger for what's to come. Meaning, if he's willing to say that publicly, when he meets with employees for the city of Homestead, what will he say to them privately? They have no protections at this point. Not that they would need any, because I would think that this body would be fair and upstanding and understanding as to the role and responsibilities that each of them have. So with that said, I hope and pray moving forward, and like I said, we are monitoring this situation, the NACP South Dade branch. We will continue to monitor. As individuals come to us, we will build whatever we feel is a fair and necessary case, and if we need to come back to you in any way, shape, or form from a litigious standpoint, we will. But the sad part about it is we shouldn't even be having this conversation. To have a body with no checks and balances is basically disrespectful to this community. And it doesn't lead them to have any confidence in you to be able to carry out the work that you're commissioned to do as their elected representatives. I appreciate Councilwoman Bailey when she called out his appropriates as unprofessional and unnecessary. I even appreciate Avila alerting me or enlightening me to the fact that the conditions he was working up under could be hostile work environment or otherwise. So with that said, I will close my comments as far as publicly, but understand we are watching and we hope moving forward we don't have to go farther than it's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. And since you didn't clarify it at the beginning of your statements, you're here in your capacity as the president of the South Dade branch of the NAACP?
I am.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I know you. We know that you are, but you introduce yourself by name and not in a representative capacity.
No problem.
All right,
and,
very good.
You probably
Thank
see
you.
me every meeting until.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? No one online? All right, I will now close the public comment portion of the agenda. Because I jumped ahead of myself, we already know there are no additions, deletions, or deferrals. Our first item is tab 1, car number 4165, the William KROME sculpture, the first deliverable design discussion. Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mayor. The Professional Artist Services Agreement between the City and Bad River Artworks establishes the artist shall perform all work necessary for design, fabrication, transportation, and delivery of the public sculpture feature of William KROME, sculpted in bronze and at a monumental scale. The first deliverable, final design and scale of the project, involves finalizing design of the sculpture in relation to scale, height, pose, expressions, orientation, and appurtenance preferences desired by the city. The deliverable is to be completed within 60 days of contract signing. The contract was finalized and signed by all parties on January 31st, 2024. Artist Lee Luning of Bad River Artworks will be available virtually to present a series of options for the city review and approval.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Good. So the artist is online, I understand?
Yes, that's correct.
Any preliminary comments from the artist before we open the council and public discussion?
Well, we got the contract today, so we know we're good. We've been, regardless of that, we've been well into the project. We have the armature with clay on it built at 8-foot scale. So when this is done, we do an armature with clay laid over it, from which you'll have a final image to say yay or nay, or if you want changes at that stage. But that's the biggest part on our end before it goes to the foundry. But we've made some positive changes artistically from the original drawing, but working with David Hennis on that, we've improved it. There's always good things come out of discussion and time. We added a large handkerchief in his back pocket where his hand is, resting with his hand back. But I said, it's hot and sweaty in the Everglades. Obviously, they went through some miserable time with the bugs and the humidity. So we gave him a hanky, a sweat mop for him, as he's got his hat tilt back and he's just mopped his hat. But that's just a small touch. We also replaced the stump with a replica of the transit box, which is a very nice wooden box that they packed up the transit for their surveying equipment each time. And his foot's on top of that. It's got a leather strap and buckles. And it's more appropriate because that went with him from one site to the next. And there's not that many big tree stumps in the Everglades. It's kind of ecologically out of place. So we gave him a pencil stuck behind his ear because he's just finished jotting down, and that's, he's got the little notebook where he writes all the surveyor things, but I gave him the pencil stuck behind his ear. And he had pretty good sized ears, so there's plenty of room for the pencil. So I want to give myself a hand. That's kind of the state we're in as far as the size. I don't know if you can get an idea of the scale. 8 foot is big. That sounds only 2 foot taller, but the volume on an 8 foot piece is probably about 6 times the volume of a 6 foot guy. It goes up exponentially. So the clay's going along. We've got the foundry anxious to get the piece. So we're going to be, we were talking about the end of fall, but I would guess if you needed it for a 4th of July celebration, at the pace we're going, Sherry, my partner, and I work every day, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, 2 of us. So we're a lot faster than most artists, but we have a daily critique. It's, I think you'll be happy. It's going to be a very quality piece. Also, I've worked with Dave a bit and about placement. I think the best location in my mind right now, we're just discussing, is 2 palm trees that line the entrance to the courthouse, the city hall. I think right between them, there's plenty of room to get people in and out, but they'll pass really close to the piece. The columns on the east side are really great, but you're not going to have the foot traffic, and most people will see that will only be in their cars. And this is designed to be interactive type piece. So we're working on that right now with Dave. Any questions?
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate the expediency of your work. I know we all remain excited about this, and I'll open this up for some initial comments or questions from my elected colleagues. Councilwoman Avila is going to chime in first.
Thank you, Mayor. I might have missed his comments on it, but was there a discussion about the boots being accurate? Was it this design, or was it a different design that we had a question on the boots?
Don't recall. I recall the conversation, but I don't know if it was as to this design or not.
So just making sure that these are the boots that we're okay with, and that it's what we had addressed. But overall, I think that the execution so far is beautiful. I love the pencil behind the ear. That makes it so realistic and relatable. And if we can get it sooner than later, that's even better. And the change with the stump, I'm happy with. I think that was appropriate. The map is still going to go in his hand, right?
Well, those are survey
Yep.
notes, right? That's the survey notes.
Survey notes are
Right.
still going to be in his hand?
Right. And then the survey notes, the hand, his tablet where he's writing things down is in the hand that's pointing. And he's got his other hand on his hip. And that's where, like his back pocket or side pocket, and that's where the handkerchief's hanging out of. And one thing I thought was important as far as the placement is that I'd like to see that his finger was due south. Whatever the compass reading is between there and Key West. Is it straight south or is it going
It's
west?
really more west than south, and that was going to be one of my comments, that wherever he ends up being placed, I believe to be historically accurate, his hand needs to be facing in whatever the true direction of Key West is.
I got a nice compass on my cell phone, and we'll line it up to put it spot on. Ideally on a piece like this, with the south exposure, when he's looking south, you have good sunlight all the time. Sunrise to sunset. He's not backlit. When you get a piece with his back to the sun, it's obviously when you take your picture, the face is dark. You've done that taking pictures at the beach or what have you. You get too much sunlight behind you, you can't see any of your figures. So this way, it's facing straight south or Key West. He's always going to be in good light as far as photographs. And you want people to take photographs of your namesake, KROME Avenue. So, and I've enjoyed. I went on YouTube and got the history of Keystone, and they had really nice presentation about the project. And I keep learning more and more. So I'm an expert on William KROME.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilwoman Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, Mr. Looning, I think that we definitely chose the right artist for this. I think the expression is really nice. My only question is, I'm not sure what it would be called, but like the marquee that describes Mr. KROME, I'm assuming we're going to have something there that talks a little bit about the history and what he did. Is that something we discussed tonight, or?
Well, a plaque was included in the package, and the wording will have to be chosen appropriately at some point. Yeah.
Okay, so regarding the plaque, is that something that is part of the sculpture itself, or will that sit aside or away from Mr. KROME?
Let's ask Dave about that. I don't think we really discussed a plaque, but I have access to a plaque company in Utah that does just this very thing. Get all of our pieces for the presidents and for the governors in South Dakota, Utah bronze. But Uh,
I was
it's
curious.
done in,
Sorry, I was curious because I didn't see it included here, so I was going to offer, if there wasn't a plaque, that could be something perhaps that was inscribed in the book, in the notebook that he was holding. I wasn't sure how many words we were including, but if it was something that had to do
well,
with...
no, he's 8 foot tall, and his hand is a little bit higher, so I don't think,
read it.
No,
I could add something on there, but not a history.
I mean, I thought I have a recollection of when we were looking at this that there was a notation that over here on the base wall of the chambers there would be on the wall itself over here some sort of descriptive plaque for the statue rather than incorporating it into the actual sculpture. I mean, we can do that on our own. We have.
Yeah, no, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I just thought if that was an
I think
opportunity,
that's-
but yeah, 8 foot is a little high to read.
Yeah.
Well, kudos on the details, and I am so excited to see it. Thank you.
Yeah, I took liberties with his expression, Cherry and I did. I'm glad you pointed it out because everything we had was what I call the church register, you know.
Yeah, no, it looks like he's squinting a little bit with the sun. I like it.
Yeah, and he's skewered his expression a little bit by the squint, and he's just concentrating, and it gives him some humanity. That just what I call church photo pose doesn't have, but makes him real. I'm glad you like it.
Well, and that was a question I had. You know, obviously, all of the posed photos that we see from that area have a very serious and stern look. And I get to where we don't necessarily want that, but and not to micromanage. And I'm looking back at kind of your first rendering where he had his 1 foot up on the stump and had the transit there. The hat didn't seem to be as cocked as far back. I hate to use, almost like a comedian cowboy rather than, a semi, he's the lead of this big team of workers and surveyors and engineers. And, but to that point, and, since this has come back to us, I've recently found out that apparently his actual notebook and his survey tools recently left Homestead and went to the Flagler Museum in Palm Beach. And perhaps if it's not too late, you could contact them and get some measurements and photos of his toolbox as well as his survey notebook to be more accurate. Also, his granddaughter still lives in Homestead. Now, bear in mind that he passed away a couple of decades probably before she was born. And I'm not guaranteeing cooperation here at all from the family, but, and I'll give them the heads up, and I'll, through staff, get you the contact info to see if they will talk to you and maybe provide some less formal photographs that the family may have, and maybe get their input, or maybe the photos will tell you that whenever he wore the hat, it was always pulled down, or maybe go into the Flagler Railroad archives and just look at general photographs of the work crews, to one of the councilwomen's points of, are the boots accurate, and really the way he wears the hat. We've got one chance to get this right.
Right. Here's the point on the hat. So it's stop action. He has lifted his head up from the transit. He's pointing to his rod man, the man that's holding the stake. He's pushed his hat back and wiped his brow, but he's pushed it back, looking down his finger to line up on the guy. And the thing about having a cat hold down, you suddenly have his face always in shadow. Okay. You know, I can make it more of a cavalry hat where it's folded back, or I can straighten it out. It is pushed back somewhat, but we don't want to shadow out the face, because it'll always be in the shade with that big
right.
Campaign.
I understand. But, clearly, I think the style of hat that you show here is consistent with the photographs we've seen.
I haven't worked that over. We just got it armatured in, and we haven't styled it and made it, that presentable. That mostly I wanted to show an expression of engaged in survey.
Any thought of having his left foot resting on a rail? Kind of like he's at the end of where they finished construction, and one foot on the survey tools and the other on the rail bed.
No, they've already built that. That's way behind the survey, and he's out in the marsh, and that's what we're trying to go for. That was the toughest part of the whole project, was the horrendous conditions and being in the marsh. Kind of keep it simple but accurate.
Gotcha.
The box is very accurate. It's an antique box. It'll make sense. It's got the leather carrying strap and the metal lockdown taps on it. And it's very, very solid, which is what you got to have to be stomping around in the wilds with the survey kit. We've worked with all the governor's families, 11 of them in South Dakota, so we work very well with family, although sometimes they get a little bit too picky, even though they've never seen them in life. But we don't mind that. If it looks like him, is what we want. But there's really no pictures of him at all with any emotion. Right. And that just makes for a boring, what I call it, the church catalog, or whatever you call it, the church. Everybody gets their picture taken, and they all have this
formal photograph.
Yeah, and it's just, it loses interest right away. The finish is everything, and we've got just a few photos, and we've researched. There's 3 that are usable, and luckily they're from the early time. There weren't many later photos at all, but they were all, the ones that were in the field are at a distance, and you can't see anything, basically. But he was a skinny guy.
Yeah, he was. All the photos confirm that. Yeah. Well, my last comment, and again, I'll kind of repeat myself to council. I'm not sold on the placement yet. Well, he's looking at out here on the entrance we would typically use out here from the east parking lot, and I don't know that gets the tourist and event foot traffic that we really thought about. You're talking about putting it out near the flagpoles, right, and the palm trees? It's
right. There's 2 palm trees. There's 2 palm trees there on the city hall entrance.
Right.
Just north of the parking lot.
Next to our parking spots. Now, and I just
not to the west.
Right.
The ones on the east are not a beautiful background with your columns and the big curved architectural detail, but you're just not going to have people walking, 100 yards over there to interact with it. This gives you.
I think what if we can, we need to hold in abeyance the placement.
Yeah, I think the point tonight was what we were really looking for was to give each of you an idea about where he is. The placement is on down the road, and we have some time to work on that. But we sort of wanted to give the perspective of orientation what's due north and what's due south and how it would line up. And so I think you're exactly right. We have time to deal with that issue.
Beyond
When
that,
I send you the,
now, just
when
from
I
the
send you the-
artistic perspective, carry on, right?
yeah, when I send you a clay, I'll have a Photoshopable. If you give me a scene, I can put them in it. I just need a mark at about 8'6", so I'll scale them up. Like on the pine tree.
Very good.
But we're good at that, and that's.
So let me ask staff if they need anything else from us. We appreciate your time from your home, and really appreciate and admire all of your work. Anything further, Mr. Good or Mr. Hennis?
No, I think, but this won't be the last time you see this. We'll continue to bring this forward as we get closer and closer.
I think I jumped ahead a little bit on placement, so we'll wait till I get you a good actual finished product photo. When we finish in clay, then you can critique it and say, change this, change that. Okay? If you got slight things.
Right.
Yeah, so we're not prima donnas. We'll make you happy.
All right. And we try not to be.
Or tell you you're happy. So, anyway, give me a hand.
There you go. Well, again, thank you. Appreciate it, and look forward to our next meeting.
And I enjoy working with David Hennis. He's a good man.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Well, good night. Thank you. All right.
You bet. Good night.
Okay, so that's all we need. That was for that informational item. All right. So we have now before us item 6 on the agenda, the consent agenda. So let me ask, I think Mr. Good, would tab 12 also more appropriately be wrapped into the consent agenda? That was some of the class action that we discussed and approved at the CAL.
I think that's tab 11, and
well, 11.
Yeah, that could certainly be included in
So if we
consent.
can include the tab regarding the Form 6 litigation in the consent approval, I'll ask for a motion as noted. Moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by Councilwoman Avila. Any public comment? Any questions from council? All in favor? Any opposed? And amen, we have no land use items this evening. So with that, we'll go to tab 9, Mr. White.
Yes, Mayor. Tab 9 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, accepting a grant award from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection for the James Archer Smith Park Trails Project, authorizing the city manager to execute the grant agreement and related documents, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Homestead has applied for and received a $120,000 grant from the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection for the James Archer Smith Park Trail. Staff recommends the Mayor and City Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the City Manager to enter into an agreement and establish a budget for a grant award of $120,000 from the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection. This grant does require matching funds of $30,000 that are budgeted in impact fees.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Anybody want to decline $120,000 in grant money? Didn't think so. So do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilman Cannibal. Any public commentary? I'll close the public hearing and ask for a roll call vote.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Cannibal? Councilwoman Bailey? Yes. Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila? Yes. Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
And next item is tab 10, Mr. White.
Yes, Mayor. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, enacting revised comprehensive council meeting and agenda procedures, superseding resolutions on the same subject, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mayor. As you all are aware, this item was deferred from last week's Committee of the Whole meeting, and there are several blanks within the resolution that we'll need direction on. Other than that, I'll defer to the attorney.
I think beyond that, but upon consultation with council and not only their conversations with our manager designee and my conversations with him, and our general conversations here about perhaps adding a meeting, that perhaps we should hold those items in abeyance as for those time frames until we have a better understanding of where we may be going with perhaps an additional monthly meeting and the timing there, so that we not take any action on that, but just incorporate those original items in the item that I brought forward, I guess, a couple of months ago. Yeah, there's too many unknowns to fill in the new time frames, and that's near and dear to Councilman Davis's heart. And once if Ziri hits the ground running, I know he has some thoughts on modernizing and streamlining, and give us maybe even better leeway on putting stuff and getting it into process so that we can see it and discuss it earlier in our one-on-ones. So, do we have a motion? Move to that effect by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilman Davis. Is there any public comment? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a roll call vote.
Councilwoman Avila, Councilwoman Bailey, Councilman Roth,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Cannabal, Vice Mayor Fletcher,
Yes.
Mayor Lawson.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Very good, thank you. We have covered tab 11. That takes us to tab 12, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, tab 12 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the settlement of all claims made by Stephanie McIntosh, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. On June 22nd, 2015, Stephanie McIntosh was arrested by Homestead Police at the Marshall's Department Store located at 1099 North Homestead Boulevard and charged with retail theft. The next day, representatives from Marshall's corporate office contacted Homestead Police, and they did not want to proceed with the prosecution of Ms. McIntosh. Ms. McIntosh was advised there would be no criminal charges filed and thereafter received a statement from Marshall's for allegations of false arrest. McIntosh filed a lawsuit against the City of Homestead alleging she was falsely arrested and has suffered injuries as a result. Ms. McIntosh is willing to execute a general release, extinguishing any and all claims arising from the above incident for the total amount of $25,000, including all costs and attorney's fees. Staff recommends the Mayor and City Council approve the attached resolution approving the settlement of all claims for the total amount of $25,000.
Thank you. Council, questions, comments? Okay, let's open the public hearing, see if there are any public input on this matter. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey, Councilman Cannabal, Councilwoman Avila, Councilman Roth, Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fletcher,
Yes.
Mayor Lawson.
Yes.
The motion carries.
And tab 13, Mr. White.
Tab 13 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving a settlement of all claims made by Blake Weber, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mayor. On February 23rd, 2007, Wever was struck and injured by a motor vehicle within the course and scope of his employment with the city, and he thereafter sought workers' compensation benefits. Since 2007, the city has provided certain workers' compensation benefits to Wever, stemming from the workers' compensation accident. At the request of the insurance company, a washout settlement agreement with Wever has been reached, which will be funded and paid directly from the insurance company and will compromise all claims for past, present, and future workers' compensation benefits arising from the accident on a global lump sum basis. Wever is willing to sign a release extinguishing any and all claims for past, present, and future workers' compensation benefits for the total amount of $275,000, inclusive of attorney's fees and costs. Staff recommends the Mayor and City Council approve the attached resolution approving the settlement of all claims for the total amount of $275,000.
Thank you, sir. Any final questions or comments from council? Any public comment? So I'll close the public hearing and ask. Good evening, Mr. McDonough.
32320 Southwest 199th Avenue. I came in a little bit just at the end of the close of public comments, but this is related to settlement discussions, so it's okay to have a minute. I've not attended any of the recent meetings. However, I watched them, and I must give credit where it's due. Councilman Cannonball and Councilman Davis, I and the public have been very impressed with y'all's actions and your votes so far in the city, so we're really proud of you, and just want to say keep it up. Further, many of us were utterly appalled to watch members of the ACLU accuse many on the dais of crimes with no evidence, I must add. I have no other words for that. Those who pay attention know that Chief Roll is little more than an affirmative action puppet who's usually only dragged out when another POC is beaten or killed by HPD so they can claim they're not a racist organization. It's sad that a once worthwhile civil rights organization would choose to be on the wrong side of history, that of a criminal chief of police against the abused and less fortunate in our community who want them gone. The ACLU members certainly were not standing beside the real leaders of our black community and I as we fought for 5 years to get body cams and some type of accountability for primarily black men killed at the hands of HPD. But I digress. You should be aware that outside of council chambers at the November meeting, Chief Roll cussed me out, then forbade me from re-entering chambers. These actions violate my First Amendment rights and the open meetings law. It's hoped that since Chief Roll, who again broke the law, that he would be a man of honor, show some integrity, apologize, and promise to never again prevent me from entering a public meeting due to my speech. Alas, I should not have expected so much from such a troglodyte. To close up, we were in the middle of settlement negotiations, although I noticed that your attorneys have never requested an executive session to this end. Please let me know soon, or my attorneys, if the city's still interested in real settlement discussions, or if I need to finish prosecuting my pending cases and file a bunch of new civil rights cases as well as public records cases. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Doctor. All right, we'll close public comment now, and we'll have a motion to approve, or we had a motion to approve this item, correct? No. All right, moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Vice Mayor Fletcher. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Ross? Yes. Councilwoman Bailey? Councilwoman Avila? Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Cannonball? Vice Mayor Fletcher?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you. Anything further, Mr. Assistant Manager?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney?
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. At this time. Always got to clarify that, right? Not tonight.
Not tonight.
Not tonight. All right, Councilwoman Bailey?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have much. I just want to say super, super huge kudos to staff for our Losner Park Black History Month celebration. It was, I mean, I have said it multiple times. I just stood there and looked around and thought, wow, this is Homestead. So awesome job. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I think I tried to leave like 3 times and then ran into somebody and ended up back, and I'm glad that I did. So once again, please, if you can join us tomorrow night at the Seminole Theater. We are celebrating art for Black History Month, and along with the South Dade Chamber of Commerce, they are also hosting their Black Business Networking event. So yummy food and beautiful artwork. So please join us, 6 o'clock tomorrow at the Seminole. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Councilman Cannonball?
Yes. You here? Yes. To congratulate Mayor Losner and Lori Losner for 33 years of marriage. Okay? That's a hard work to do, man. That's amazing. Congratulations, man.
Okay. Councilman Davis?
I just wanted to take a moment and thank our Homestead team. We've had just well wishes from everyone. My wife's illness lately, everyone was so caring and kind, and many kind thoughts and prayers. I wanted to thank my colleagues for all their kindness in this regard. She's on the mend. She's doing much better. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, Councilman.
I have nothing for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing for tonight. Nothing at this time. Oh, but Bailey's going to take your time.
No. I said South Dade Chamber of Commerce, but I meant South Dade Connections.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Avila?
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations on the anniversary. Councilman Davis, I wasn't aware she wasn't well, so my prayers to her. I wanted to congratulate Councilwoman Bailey again on her wonderful event this past weekend, the Black History Month event. I was not able to go, unfortunately.
It wasn't mine. I wish it was mine.
Well, it was the city's event, but you are such a champion for that, and so congratulations to staff for pulling that off. You have done a fantastic job once again. Another kudos to staff for helping with the county's classic car show banner and putting it up, finding it when it blew down, fixing it, putting it back up again, and now fixing it again because the date is now the 25th. Thank you, Pedro, for having that fixed tomorrow. So the classic car show at the county, which the city has sponsored frugally. I'm donating popcorn to 200 kids. So we're all welcome to attend, and they're very happy with our hospitality and helping to promote the event. But that's going to be the 25th this Sunday at Bayfront Park. And I also wanted to share that about 30 students, local students here in Homestead, will be attending the Youth Symphony at Tropical Fair Gardens due to a collaboration with the Kiwanis Club of Homestead and the South Florida Youth Symphony. So I wanted to thank the Kiwanis Club of Homestead for continuing to keep the music and the arts as a priority here in Homestead. And so what a fantastic opportunity to send kids to see that concert. So thank you to all the local nonprofits that continue to serve our community, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one comment. Tomorrow, several of us from the council will be attending the Miami-Dade County zoning hearing in regards to the construction and debris landfill site. We will be presenting again with our resolution where we support the airbase and its mission, as well as those of our residents not wishing to have the landfill that close to home sites. So again, several of us will be going to represent the citizens of Homestead tomorrow, and we welcome you to join us as well. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. That's one less item I have to speak on. Yeah, we'll be there. Several council members will be there on behalf of our community. Want to quickly announce that due to his inability to attend, we've received the resignation of Antoine Bouillon from the Faith and Community-Based Advisory Board, and in his stead appointed Pastor Reginald Joseph to fill that seat. I too want to commend staff and Councilwoman Bailey and her committees with the Black History Month event in Losner Park a couple of weeks ago. It was impressive.
I didn't have any. I wish I did.
Okay, just bask in the glory. Come on. No place for you. No.
Thank you. And on behalf of staff, thank you to the mayor and council for your approval of the funding for that event, allowing us to do the work that we do. And I want to give a special shout out to Camila, our PIO, and Pedro, our Director of Parks and Recreation. They were really amazing at pulling that event off.
No, what I want to say, it was an event that could be enjoyed by all. It was, so there was something there for everyone all night. And Councilwoman Bailey had the foresight to extend an invitation to Dr. Ahekwaba to come down. He came down not only with his wife, but with his brother who's visiting here from Nigeria, and some friends and other family members, and they were just blown away, impressed by what they saw going on here in Homestead. It reflected well on our community and all of those who helped put that together. So again, I want to make that notation that we're really upping our game on all of the events, and I know we've had some good sunshine meetings on 4th of July, long-term issues, holiday events, and we're going to really show the rest of the county, at least the rest of Deep South Dade, how to do community events. So with that, if there is nothing further, do we have yes, Councilman Roth? Yes. Wow. Yeah, thank you. I should that's $1 fine for me at Rotary. March 2nd and 3rd, the Rotary Charitable Foundation Seafood Festival at our sports complex. I think this will be the 5th annual. I think it's 5th. I think we had a gap year in there 1 year. 5th annual. Again, food vendors and merchandise vendor slots are filled up with more food. So, hopefully shorter lines, and come out and enjoy. It's a pretty cheap way to have, and if this weather continues that we've been having into to festival weekend, we're going to be overrun with folks. But that's what it's all about. Thank you, Councilman Roth, for reminding me of that. I'm sitting here thinking about going to commission tomorrow. It's like that black cloud over our heads. So with that, a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.